Yo, what is going on, guys? Miguel here. So today we're coming at you with a video on how just last month, September 2024, I almost said 2023, I was able to actually close over 100,000 in gross commissions income, 118, 119,000 to be exact. And this wasn't just from one huge sale. This was actually from 15 closed units for right around 6 million in volume. Now, if you guys haven't been here before, my name is Miguel, of course. I am a realtor that services the London, Ontario market here in Canada. Behind me here, who's splashing around like crazy, is Simon. That is our new turtle. Eva is my dog, and she's always paying really close attention. I usually got to watch that she's not going to jump on the tank because she's done that a few times. But anyways, guys, yeah, I've been a licensed realtor since April 2022, so I'm coming up to my first full 2 calendar years here. So I've been in the business, actually licensed just over 2 years. I have a full-time assistant that works for me, and if you have any referrals and need to go to the London, Ontario way, shoot them this way, and I'll be more than happy to service them, buying or selling. Now, let's kind of break it down. So we're going to go right into the video. I want to try to keep this within a 10-minute span, so we're going to go ahead and do so. So last month, obviously it was a good month. Now keep in mind, this wasn't the only good month I had this year. It has been a good year for me. I'm on pace to do between 60 and 65 units this year, especially with the rate decrease that is coming up here in Ontario, and with the anticipation. I'm already seeing it's going to be a pretty strong last quarter. So this is going to be a good Q4 to finish off. On top of that, in my the 2 fall markets I have experienced, Q4s, it's always been my best months. So really keen to see where I end up this year, and I'm just going to keep pushing through my contacts. But we'll get into all that. The brink of the story is what you guys are looking for, is how did I close this many units in, how did I do this much income in just a single month? So we're going to break it down. Okay, so let's start with the units, the sales volume, and the exact commission, right? So I have my, I don't know if I can show too much on this because there's like important information, but anyways, it's like my deal sheets. Anyways, let's break it down. So I had 15 closings. Out of those 15 closings, the total volume was $5,809,292, and the gross GCI, the gross commission income, was $118,297.84. Now, out of those, there was, I believe, so I have done some leases this year. I'm taking some on to build some credibility with some investors. If you guys are from Ontario, you would know some of the regulations around tenant bylaws right now is just absurd. So I'm actually currently I'm building a relationship with the property manager to help take those on so I don't have to anymore. Also, they're just a ton of work for the money it pays. But out of those, I had 3 of those were referrals, which were, they were all actually leases. So they're referrals from a lease. So they're small payouts. And then I had, and there was 2 actual lease ends that I did. So basically you can account for, 4 of them were referral lease ends. I have a student rental investor that's leasing them out, and on my end I did 2 leases myself. So 6 of these 15 were leases, 9 of them were sales. Okay, and then out of those 6 leases, 4 of them were referrals. They were room rentals. So yeah, so let's break it down. So I'm going to go through the sources these came from. Now, I'm going to break down, so something I learned really cool, and we'll kind of touch on this, is learning exactly where the source of the business came from. So if you got a sign call, like, where did that come from, and where did you get that business initially, right? So I'm going to break that down. So out of the 15, door knocking was number 1. If you guys follow me, door knocking is a huge source for me. It's my favorite thing to do. So 6 of them were door knocks. 2 of them were for rent by owners. 2 of them were from an open house. So I do open house events, which I should, how I think about it, I should actually make a video on that, how I do that. Now keep in mind, not all these were like right away from the open house. These are actually nurtures of both of them from open houses. Just happened to be their time. One of them was a sign call from a listing I door knocked, and 4 of them were client referrals, and which was initially sourced from a for rent by owner. So the majority of this comes from for rent by owners and door knocking, because those open houses I have were actually from listings I door knocked. So really, if you boil it down, that's really where my sources are. And we'll get to my sources and how I did and how you guys can kind of repeat, right? So, but that's where the sources came from. Now, just so you guys know I'm not bluffing and stuff, I'll go through the exact properties. So, if you guys are on the MLS, you want to search it up, do whatever you want to do. So I'm not going to go through the leases that were referred. I'll go through the actual leases. So the first lease was 1501 Noah Bend. And then the second lease was 13 Evelyn Court in St. Thomas. When I'm not saying the city, it's just assume it's in London. Then the first sale, 368 Flanders Row. Next was 9 Tanner Drive. The next one was 74 Guilford Court. Next one was 479 Glen Crescent. The next one was 1517 Green Gables Road. Wow, that's hard to say. 1568 Noah Bend. 1051 Trafalgar Street. Let's see, that's the referral. 148 Bowman Drive. And 78 Britannia Ave. Now, I haven't gone through how many of these were actually buys and sells, but my business, if you guys want to know, my business is exactly 50-50 right now, like right on the dot 50-50. 42 closed for the year. It's actually, I have one that's under contract, so I guess that goes up for a sale, but my business is 50-50. So, yeah, so take that how you will, but that is the full breakdown of where those sales came from and the numbers associated, right? So again, this wasn't just from one huge sale I did. I haven't had a huge sale. This is all from lots of work. Now, keep in mind, these are closed, like not under contract, like these hit my bank account, stuff like that, right? Like closed, said and done deal. Now, let's kind of go what I did to actually get these listings, right? So really, if you boil it down, I door knocked and I did for rent by owners, right? Those have been my two strongest lead sources. I'm actually tied this year for rent by owner and door knocking. Now, my favorite thing to do is door knocking, but open houses are also, I only do my own open houses, and I'll make a whole video on how I do that. I basically do like a big opening event where I hire like a food truck and stuff like that, and it really builds my credibility. Anyways, I'll get into a video on that because I could speak on that for literally an hour. But I guess we can also kind of go through some of these sales and how I actually got them, right? So I'm not gonna get into the leases, right? We'll just completely skip over the leases because if you're looking to make $100,000 in a month, you're probably not gonna focus on getting leases right now. I took them with reason, but again, my 2025 business plan does not have leases associated. I have a couple physicians that I'll be helping out that I know of in the city, which is completely fine. Anyone will take in a physician with their income. So other than that, I'm not doing leases, right? But let's go through the sale. So the first sale was 368 Flanders. 368 Flanders. So how I got that, I messaged a friend by owner who I actually have two of their properties listed right now. They're an investor in London. Their son reached out to me because he knew of me through his parents. He was actually trying to buy through a listing agent at one time, and the listing agent was not being very helpful. I stepped into the picture, found him a really good student rental, an incredible deal. So that's where that one came from. 9 Tanner Drive. So I was Flanders was on the buy side. 9 Tanner Drive. So this is from door knocking, essentially. Now, I met his mom when I was door knocking, and his mom, his mom actually referred me to him, and then a couple months later, he gave me a shout, and I did a consultation with him over the phone, and I found him and his partner property. So, yeah. So that one came from door knocking. 74 Guilford Court. So 74 Guilford Court and 1517 Green Gables Road. That's a buy and sell for the same client. So I met them door knocking, just had a good conversation, added them to the Rolodex, and I believe within 8 months, he called me about 7 months out from meeting him, and he said, hey, we're getting ready to do this, and they were a buy and sell. So that alone was about close to $40,000 in commission. So they bought for $680 and sold for $715. So it wasn't too bad at all. 479 Glen Crescent. So I met this couple at my opening event, my open house event. At the time, they were working the realtor. We actually didn't connect too well at the open house. So it was kind of just, they came in, they're kind of like, realtor, just kind of leave them be. And I just kind of appreciated that they were a young couple, and the boyfriend was an electrician. So I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be in the trades. And he kind of just took my information, and I kind of just didn't acknowledge it too much, right? And then I would say, how long after was it? It was 4 months after I met him at that open house. He called me to say, oh, I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, I know you. He called me because he wasn't satisfied. His realtor was working with him for a year, didn't find anything. I found him a property that worked for him and his partner. Actually, two. We offered on one and lost out, unfortunately. The second one, I found him within exactly 31 days. And I told him, I'll have no problem finding you something in maximum month. Found him something, we firmed up in 31 days. So, yeah, so that was from an open house, but that open house listing I got was from a door knock. So, yeah, so that was the opening event I did. Green Gables is there. So 1568 Noah Bend. So this is a seller who also purchased 148 Bowman Drive. That was a new construction. We sold. I met her door knocking, expired door knock. So I knocked around her property while she was, she was over a year off the market. But anyways, I just met her going around the neighborhood, and it turned out she expired a while ago. Got a listing appointment about 3 months after I met her because the spring market was coming up. I met her like in January. And I put her home up for sale, $999. We sold for $975, and then I helped buy her a property like immediately, pretty well, for $755. That was new construction. So that's how I got that one. 1051 Trafalgar Street was. It was actually, so basically this came from a for rent by owner, really, because I had a property listed for an investor who was a for rent by owner. And after I did an open house, I had someone who ran across from me from the street, was like, oh, is that you? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, I've been meaning to talk to you for a while. And she had a property on the opposing street that was not selling. It wasn't doing well. And she's like, yeah, I got 2 more weeks. And I hate, like, she did not like her agent. She parted ways with the agent, and she brought me in the picture right away. I sold it within 18 days. So, yeah, they were more than happy. They both gave me a review. So, technically, that one on Trafalgar Street was, you could say for rent by owner, but it's kind of like an expired two almost, but for rent by owner is what I marked it down as. And then 79 Britannia. So funny enough, this one was kind of funny. I met this person at my second ever open house, and I nurtured them for over 2 years. So for 2 years, I nurtured them, and when it was time, he gets his ducks in a row. When it was time, he has approval. We met up at a property. And just got the ball rolling from there. And we got him a really nice property in the neighborhood. So yeah, that was actually from one of my first open houses. So that one was truly from an open house. I just nurtured him for a while, and that was it. So I don't think I missed any of those, right? Yeah, I really didn't miss any. So that's really what I did to get all those. I just broke down how I got every single listing. It was a mix of door knocking, from calling for rent by owners, and the story behind all of them, right? So what does all this boil down to, guys? What would you say it boils down to? Like, if you really had to think about it. Talking to people, right? Part of my business plan for Q4 in order to hit my goals is strictly just how many people I'm talking to. Because if you know how many people you got to talk to, like if you can understand that, okay, so if you can understand that this business is simply just going out, finding new opportunities and talking to people and knowing what to say, like mastering your dialogues for sure is a big one, and knowing your market, you will have zero problem succeeding. Like if you guys are stuck on like, oh, what do I do today? Or like, oh, I don't know what to do. Put it this way, okay? If you should be posting on social media at least once a day, right? And don't make anything too fancy. Like, anyways, if you have nothing going on, your goal, your number one priority, if you're not going on appointments, is just to talk to people. Like the way I look at it is, if I have nothing going on, there's a blank spot in my calendar, I fill it up with door knocking. Or just calling my database, or calling for rent by owner. Something, because you have to have a certain amount of contacts to hit a certain number, right? When you're newer, your contacts to conversion is going to be a lot lower. Right now, my contact to close is high 50s right now. It's like a 56. So I have 56 conversations for me to get a closing. So I know that if I can talk to just over 100 people in the week, I'm going to have 2 closings. Right? So in 2025, if I can find a way to talk to 125 people every single week and really protect that time, I'm going to close easily 100 plus homes 2025. I know that's a fact, because that number has increased drastically year over year. I was in the, I was 180, I think it was 183 or 187 last year, contacts to close. Just because of my skill set and the database I've built over time, now my contacts to close is way lower. It's 56. My apologies. Not looking at my database, or my business plan. But anyways, you can see the power of just talking to people and finding new opportunities will make all this possible. 100,000%. So if you're new, you're struggling, you're like, how the heck did this guy make $100,000 just really not even 2 full years in the business, 2 years, whatever you want to say. But as a newer realtor in a market that's down, how did this guy do 100 plus thousand in a month? Well, it's because I know the name of the game, which is just talking to people. Talk to people, master your skills, that's it. Anyways, the last thing I want to touch on, guys, is, although it seems like really, really awesome, like, oh man, this guy like closed like 100,000, 118,000 in income. September wasn't like my best month. Like, if I'm going to be honest, like, because when you're closed, that's already happened, right? You got to go find your new business. So there should be a rule in your head where it's like, okay, I have a closing. Oh crap. Like, you should be concerned if you have a closing, because now you got to go refill your pipeline, right? There's some people that will really celebrate like having a closing. And there's other people that are going to look at a closing coming up and be like, oh my gosh, I need to refill that with a pending. Because if you have a certain amount of deals pending at a time, you're going to hit your goal, right? If your goal is to do 100, you need to have 8 pending at all time. If your goal is to do 84 and start a 4th level business, you got to have 7 deals pending at one time. Does that make sense? So basically in September, I had 3 deals fall apart, right? I double-ended one, and I had one that just didn't come to fruition on a buy side, right? It was unfortunate. Now, I was the second highest for taking listings, and I definitely had a good listing pipeline for sure. Like, currently, I've got 10 listings on the go, but in terms of sales, I wasn't having much luck. Like, I had 3 deals, all 3 just fell apart, right? And I had 2 listings that also parted ways out of things that weren't even in my control, right? So, in terms of how good my month was, in terms of like income and stuff, the reality was, in terms of sales, I was well behind, because now I got to look at Q4 and be like, okay, I really got to pick up on my sales, because even though I just had a killer month and the rest of the year has been really good, now I have a month that I actually didn't have any sales, and I got to make that up for in the next 3 months, or even this month in October, which October's been a good month, don't get me wrong. It's definitely been having the ball rolling and it's making up for a lot of it. But keep in mind, even though it's all like, oh man, shimmers, like, the thing you guys got to know is that there's a level of comfort where it's like, okay, oh, I'm doing really well. And I really don't see, even though it feels good that, yeah, like I hit a record month, and, I think a lot of people would dream to be like, 6 figures in 1 month. Like, that's the goal. And I'm a solo realtor. Like, that money's all going in my pocket kind of thing, right? But the biggest thing to understand is when you hit a level, and I was listening to an Andy Elliott podcast. Now, some people may not like him, some people may like him, but the reality is the guy knows sales like to the core. Like, he really speaks good stuff. And the one thing I was listening to today was, there's a level of comfort you'll get to where when you're comfortable, you're going to fall into that trap of, oh yeah, I don't need to do this. Or we all know as realtors, right, when you're up, you're gonna have down months because you're thinking everything's good. Now, I've never looked at it that way. I'm always like, okay, I got to beat out the next person and continue my way up because I have goals to get somewhere. But the reality is, guys, even when you hit these numbers, you still got to strive to be on that next level so you can continue to have these months. And at some point, this is a normal month for me, right? So I hope this helped, guys. That was all I really want to touch on. And that was how, as a newer realtor in the business, I made $100,000 with 15 units closed, ends closed in the month of September 2024. So again, hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have no comments, if you have no questions, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.